Hello, everyone. Welcome to Otaku Talk. It's me, your boy, your host, OD, and today we'll be reviewing and analyzing Chapter 343 of My Hero Academia. I didn't do a 342 review last week because I'm just going to keep it a buck with you. I wasn't fucking with the chapter. Not that it was bad, it was a cool little chapter, but I didn't really have a lot to like expand on to analyze. Um, I did actually shoot. I did shoot and record a video. Like I had every intention, but I just like when I was like rewatching it to like edit, I was like, oh man, I don't feel like any kind of like passion or excitement. I just kind of feel like I'm doing a video to do a video, which I always promise myself like I would try to be professional and like always put out a video. But then I told myself, if your heart's not 100% behind it, you're just kind of doing it to like chug out content, like what's the fucking point? So I kind of skipped, even though like I said, it wasn't a really bad chapter, and I did have some cool things to say about Deku and Okaku, and the parallels between the heroes and the villains, and like how the mangaka's trying to set it up so that we understand that like the villains more or less aren't like super like bad. They're just they're doing what they feel they need to do. It's kind of like a situation where a starving kid or whatever steals to survive. They're doing something bad, but they're in a situation where they have to do that bad, or they won't survive, or they'll die, or someone closer important to them will suffer. And it kind of seems like the people like Dobby, who's actually hurt because of the actions of a hero, aka his father. And then you have people like what I forget her name, Himiko, who, had a really rough upbringing and, was like mocked by the people around her, and like, her house was vandalized. I'm pretty sure that happened after they moved out, but hey, it could have very well, something similar could have happened while she was there. So I did like that aspect of the last chapter where the calm before the storm. Chapter title, the chapter title was very apt in that the whole time I did read it, it did seem exceptionally calm before the storm. So yeah, but honestly, other than that, I didn't really have anything to expound on. So I decided, let's just wait it out for this chapter. This chapter is really good. So if this is your first time on this channel, or you've been here before but haven't done so already, would greatly appreciate if you could do me a solid, like, share, and subscribe. And without no further ado, let's get into the review. All right, chapter 343 of My Hero Academia, Let You Down, which by the end of this chapter should have been called My Actor Academy, with the Oscar performances going on. So we start off this chapter with pretty much All For One monologuing to himself, talking about what was that quirk again, blah 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 blah, like just being a head ass about One For All, and talking about how like this weak, useless person had it. Kind of seems like he's just projecting. He's kind of shook, but he something curious he did say was how the cork was going to help him win. How that's going to happen, I'm not sure. My theory is maybe he believes that he can take the cork back, and even though the cork wasn't great initially, after the hard work that All Might, the former predecessors of All For One, and now Deku has put into it, it's a way stronger quirk than it ever was when All For One initially had it, right? And so this episode honestly had me cracking up. It had me like thinking of it was like an episode of Power, and like All For One was not like basically a drug dealer, because they were out here using like code to speak like, hey, I could use a 60-year Macallan. Oh, we don't have one of those, but how about a 16-year-old Macallan? I can have my son bring it over. Yeah, can I have his contact info? I was like, yo, y'all are making me sick right now. y'all are y'all are doing the absolute most right now. And I'm like, I feel you. You're trying to, keep things under wraps. You're not trying to get caught up. But I'm like, you guys don't have like what is that? Untraceable phones. You don't have you don't have like telepathy. You don't have a better way in which to communicate where you don't have to do all this BS. And it was cracking me up because it was just so, I don't want to say, I don't want to say it was over the top, because technically it's not. Like it makes sense to talk in code. It makes sense, to be as careful as possible, to not call him, his name. That way, it doesn't get flagged in case, there's bugs on the mic, to call him uncle. But that John cracked me up. And then it got even funnier. It got even more hilarious when, uh Ayama and Deku are doing their whole like rooftop confrontation. I don't think they were on a rooftop. They were somewhere. And Deku's all like, "Why do you want me here?" And they're like, "I'm sorry I have to do this, blah blah blah, but I have to protect my parents," and like yada yada yada. And Deku's like, "Why are you doing this?" And Ayama's like, "Can you imagine a world where commodities and necessities like, you know, gas and oil and like electricity and blah 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 don't exist? Now what about, beings or people that, could provide those things? Like we no longer have electricity, but we have this dude that can create electric currents and circuits. And so, in order to provide the world with electricity, you have to go through him. And because you have to go through him, you either have to, pay him or like put him in positions of power or whatever. You can control the means of, production. You can control, what who gets electricity and who doesn't. You can you can control each and everything. And so honestly, it's a pretty good plan, but also it's just like, so what does he want to do? Does he want to like start a powers rental agency? And why couldn't he do that now? Like it just seems very poor in terms of like what I thought his grand scheme to be. Now, honestly, it works the same way with what he wanted to do with, destabilizing various nations, militaries and governments. But the way that Ayama put it, he kind of downplayed it, which I think it's kind of funny because All For One kind of said something similar. He was like, "Who told you that plan? Was it your parents?" It's close, but not quite. So I'm kind of happy to know that, like, okay, there's some validity to it, but it's not as like basic as what Ayama probably, told everyone. Or sorry, not told everyone, but told Deku. Also, I really truly love in series when like problems aren't localized. And when I say localized, I'm not just talking about like they're not just in one area. I'm talking about how like it just doesn't impact the characters that we know about. I really love the discussion about the fact that because of everything that's been happening in Japan, the value of the yen has plummeted. Unemployment numbers have skyrocketed. They're in a great depression right now, and part of All For One's plan, like I said, is to become the arbiter of this world. I love how they call him essentially a demon lord, and he wants to take over and make things right. And ro- you can build an army with the highly susceptible, right? There's going to be a bunch of people just like the ones that are at UA right now trying to execute his plan, and just like the League of Villains that he was willing to establish and gather under him. There's going to be a group of people in every society that feel wronged, that feel hurt, that a hero either did them dirty, killed their parents, didn't save them in time, and because of all these things, they now feel emboldened to support the wrong side, but they feel like they're on the right side, or that they're indignant because a wrong has been done to them, and they deserve this. And I'm sure outside of that group of people that feel wrong, there's also the people that don't feel wrong, but they're just like, we're broke, we're hungry, we're tired. It seems like the whole world around us is coming to a collapse. We don't care about right or wrong at this point. We just want to survive. And if this dude, All For One, can ensure our survival, if he can protect me, if he can protect my family, if he can protect my loved ones, why not embrace it? So I totally like that aspect. I love world building like that where it's more than just about the characters and more than just about, oh no, a bunch of people are gonna die. Like it's not just about people dying, it's an actual like nation, and nations are going to die. So that was super cool to me. But anyway, like I was saying, speaking of ham actors, just like that One Piece episode, he should have called this episode ham actors because they're really hamming it up. All for one makes his grand appearance, and well, he makes his great appearance after Ayama goes through his whole like, I need to protect my mom and dad and blah 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 and this and that and the other, and then Deku's all with his whole like, I trusted you, I believed in you, you were the chosen one, like all that stuff. And so like All for One comes in, and it bothers me that like how he actually fell for this. Like I know it's one of those situations where probably in the back of his head he was like, they're probably up to some shit, but I'm all for one. So like if they do, I'm gonna handle it. But at the same time, like, everything should be good. And so for them to just kind of like finesse him like that just cracked me up because he immediately he's talking and then turns and hits him, tries to hit him with the naval laser. To which I really, really hope in the anime he casually brushes it off and it's not like something that he's like, and like really has to protect someone. He's just like, really? Really, dude? Really? I'm all for one. And I just thought it was funny how like they started complimenting each other's acting. Like he was like, man, Deku, your acting was a tour de force. And then Deku's like, I'm just trying to get like you, man. When you started crying, I started crying. You crew, I crewed, we crewed together. Like, oh my gosh, that shot was funny. I do want to mention, I earlier said I'm surprised that like All for One was as surprised as he was, but he did for some reason say that he didn't detect any ill intent or lies from them. I don't know if he has a quirk that allows him to like pick up inflection in people's voices. Maybe he was doing like a daredevil thing, listening to heartbeats or not, but he seemed legitimately shocked that like this was a trick, even though like he quote unquote vetted it. So I'm wondering if this is going to come up later, or if there was some way, shape, or form in which someone was able to use a power in order to like make it so that I don't know, that they were able to lie without being detected by All for One, or they were just that good and they just kept calm. So who knows? Anyway, we get our Avengers Endgame moment where, with a quirk that I cannot recognize, All for One summons all these supervillains out of thin air, right? And at that moment, I was terrified because I'm like, okay, this is bad. Did we know he could do this? Because I'm sure that there's backup around somewhere, but I was thinking it might be a situation where like it's gonna take a while for the backup to get here, and he was just suddenly able to bring a mass of villains out of nowhere. But then like we have that, Doctor I was about to say Doctor Stone. I just did a Doctor Stone review. Doctor Strange moment where he opens up all those portals and the heroes come through. And at first I was confused because I thought it was what's his name, Kurogari or whatever, the shadow dude that normally teleports them around. But no, it's actually the dude from class 2B, that has the power to replicate people's quirks. I thought that was super cool. I thought that was super relevant. I love when Magaka use things in the story that make legitimate and tangible sense and bring them back. So that was exceptional. And honestly, the number one thing I was happy about, like, yeah, we have a star-studded cast right now. The next chapter is going to be amazing. We're going to have hero versus hero. But my boo, my bae, the baddest superhero in the game, Mirko, is back. And so I'm excited for her. I see her with her little left arm prosthetic. Can't wait to see what she can do there. But Mirko is a badass bitch. I'm glad she's back. I'm glad she wasn't defeated. I'm glad she didn't give up. She didn't quit. Even with one arm, boo, you're the best. So I'm glad my girl's back. And yeah, I can't wait for next chapter. I can't wait for this fight. Can't wait for it to get animated and we get to see all this go down. And I can't wait to see the evolution of everyone in class 1A. I can't wait to see, some more of the pro heroes. Hopefully we get to see some pro heroes we haven't seen fight before. And I want to see, like I said, I want to see my babe Mirko. Maybe she has some new tricks with her prosthetics. Maybe she got some like rocket launchers in that bitch. Who the fuck knows? But this is a very exciting chapter, and I can't wait for next week. Anyway, thank you guys so much for tuning into Otaku Talk. This has been your host, OD. Have a great weekend. Oh, well, rest of the weekend. It's Sunday. And if you watch football, enjoy the Super Bowl. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And